Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naran Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yatkripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramanandamadavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Om Ajnanatamrindasya Gyanjanashalakya Chakshurun Militamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swaminiti Namne नमाचार्यपदाय निताय कृपाप्रदायिनी घोरकथा दामदाय नगर ग्राम तारिणी नमों विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण प्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारने निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 11, Text 22. Kechit karma vadanti enam svabhavam apare nripa eke kalam pare daivam pumsa kamam utapare. The differentiation among varieties of life and their suffering and enjoyment is explained by some to be the result of karma. Others say it is due to nature, others due to time, others due to fate, and others say that it is due to desire. Purport. There are different types of philosophers: Mimamsakas, atheists, astronomers, sexualists, and so many other classifications of mental speculators. The real conclusion is that it is our work only that binds us within this material world in different varieties of life. How these varieties have sprung up is explained in the Vedas. It is due to the desire of the living entity. The living entity is not a dead stone. He has different varieties of desire or karma. The Vedas say, Kamo Akarshit. The living entities are originally parts of the Lord, like sparks of a fire. But they've dropped to this material world attracted by a desire to lord it over nature. That is a fact. Every living entity is trying to lord it over the material resources to the best of his ability. This karma or desire cannot be annihilated. There are some philosophers who say that if one gives up his desires, he again becomes liberated. But it is not at all possible to give up desire, for desire is a symptom of the living entity. If there were no desire, then the living entity would be a dead stone. Srila Narottam Das Thakura therefore advises that one turn his desire towards serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then desire becomes purified. And when one's desires are purified, one becomes liberated from all material contamination. The conclusion is that the different philosophers' theories to explain the varieties of life and their pleasure and pain are all imperfect. The real explanation is that we're all eternal servants of God, and that as soon as we forget this relationship, we're thrown into the material world where we create our different activities and suffer or enjoy the result. We are drawn into this material world by desire, but the same desire must be purified and employed in the devotional service of the Lord. Then our disease of wandering in the universe under different forms and conditions will end. So this Swayambhu Manu is trying to tell Dhruva Maharaja, this is the best solution actually when we understand that karma is our activities, actions, or the true cause of what happens in life. The immediate cause may be something else. Somebody else comes and does something, and then we uh, hold them responsible, either good or bad. We think they are the cause, but actually, it is because of our actions. We are Whatever we have to enjoy or suffer will come in whatever way it comes, it will come. because that is the one which, I mean, in material life, our karma is the cause of our enjoyment is suffering, and other people are simply instruments. That's why he is saying, don't get angry with the yakshas so much. Your brother had this lifespan, his karma, whatever, and then he had to die. So once we accept that, then we will not simply try to find other causes and blame others so much and get very upset. See, that's the difference between the Indian mood and the Western mood. In West, they are, if any doctor commits a mistake and something happens, either your health suffers or you die or whatever, then the doctor is held, he is sued in the court and he has to shell out a lot of money as this thing, But in India, even though one can do it, but people think, what, I mean, they think it's my karma. So they don't even go to court. They don't bother to go and sue the doctors. So the doctors also have a cool time. They don't bother. They know that nothing will happen to them. I mean, that is, I'm just talking about the mentality. I'm not going into what is right and wrong, but because they don't even get upset with the doctor because they think, anyway, what to do? This was my karma. So, but it's a fact. Doctor was an instrument, but that doesn't give doctors a free run to do whatever they want and say it's all your karma. That's also not correct. But I'm saying from our point of view, it is whatever happens in our life. Though, so it doesn't mean that we should sit quietly. Somebody does something to me, oh, it's my karma. No, we have to fight back. But whatever the results of our fight or whatever is all dependent on our karma. So that is the amazing thing. We have to act as if everything depends on me, but it doesn't depend on me. So we have to act. We can't say, oh, everything is karma, so I just keep quiet. And so all these other mental speculators, they give different things, reasons for why things happen. Um, is explained by some to be the result of karma. Others say is due to nature, others due to time. And nature means survival of the fittest and all that. So whoever is stronger will only get everything. Those are things are not perfect. It's all speculation. Then some due to time. They say, yeah, time has to be okay. Others due to fate, destiny, and others say that it's all due to desire. So he's saying Mimamshakas. Mimamshakas are those who completely say everything is based on karma. So they say there is no need of God and all that. You just keep doing good karma, you'll keep having a good time. I mean, we know that it's not so simple. We might keep doing, and like we know how King Driga, he was born as a lizard, even though he did good karma. So there is God. You cannot just say that I don't need God, I'll just do good karma. Atheists, okay. Astronomers, sexualists. Astronomers, they believe on astronomy, and so they tell about time, how everything is based on the positioning of planetary positions vis-a-vis the individual. And then sexualists will say it's all due to desire. So, like that. But the real thing uh, is our work. Work only that binds us within this material world in different varieties of life. So desire has to be there. Now, somebody, I just saw a short clip of someone asking a question to um, one of the sannyasis. I think it was Bhakti Vikas Maharaj. And he was asking, oh, Gurudev, I'm not able to give up my, no, I'm not able to give up anything. Huh? I'm not able to give up things in this material world. I'm so attached. So he said, why should you give up? It's not possible. First of all, it's not ours to give up. Everything belongs to Krishna. We should only understand that everything belongs to Krishna and he's allowed something for me, and then we use it to serve him, then there is no need to give up anything. So just that understand consciousness that everything belongs to Krishna, and by Krishna's mercy, whatever he's giving me, I will use that to maintain myself and whatever. And then, so there is no question of attachment and detachment. We are just dependent on Krishna, and we use whatever our lives, our activities, our bodies to glorify and serve Krishna, then there is no problem at all. You don't have to give up anything. First of all, nothing is ours to give up. Everything belongs to Krishna. So that is the proper understanding. And that is how we can become liberated. Simply by running away from material things doesn't liberate us, because desires are still there in the mind. So Srila Narottam Das Thakura therefore advises that one turns his desire towards serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You cannot give up desire also. Some people say, oh, I'm desiring, I should stop desiring. But without desire, we cannot. I mean, now the nature of the soul is to desire. What we desire is the thing. We should desire to serve the Lord, and then we'll be completely fulfilled. Then one becomes liberated from all material contamination. The real explanation that we are all eternal servants of God, and that too, as soon as we forget this relationship, we're thrown into the material world where we create our different activities and suffer or enjoy the result. So we have to go to the root cause, not see immediate causes. People want to know, oh, in my last life I did something. So they'll want to find out what they did to set it right, or they will just do some what's prayaschitta or something, some homas or something to um, remove the effect of that particular karma, whatever they did. That is very short sighted. But a devotee should go deep into the matter. Why at all am I desiring wrongly? Well, no, why I want to stop even my tendency to do bad karma at completely. I may remove the effect of my whatever previous karma, something what is, but I may continue to do that. So where is the cessation of suffering? Only when we understand why. Why am I suffering? Why do my material desires create all problems for me? And the thing is that actually I'm supposed to be a servant of Krishna, that my relationship with the Lord has to become perfect, that I have to use everything for his service. Then I'll always be happy. The same desire must be purified and employed in the devotional service of the Lord. Then our disease of wandering in the universe under different forms and conditions will end. So that is why most people will wonder how to desire to serve the Lord. I don't have any such desire. And so we have to tell them, chant Hare Krishna, of course. And that's the magical thing which makes us. We have to cry, please let me serve you. I don't want to serve you, but please make me serve you. Make me desire to serve you. Now I'm desiring only to serve my senses, but I want to serve you. Avyaktasya prameyasya nana shakti udayasya cha navai chikirshitam yatata ko vedata sambhavam. The absolute truth, transcendence, is never subject to the understanding of imperfect sensory endeavor, nor is he subject to direct experience. He is the master of varieties of energies, like the full material energy. And no one can understand his plans or actions. Therefore, it should be concluded that although he is the original cause of all causes, no one can know him by mental speculation. The question may be raised, since there are so many varieties of philosophers theorizing in different ways, which of them is correct? The answer is that the absolute truth, transcendence, is never subject to direct experience or mental speculation. The mental speculator may be called Dr. Frog. The story is that a frog in a 3-foot well wanted to calculate the length and breadth of the Atlantic Ocean on the basis of his knowledge of his own well. But it was an impossible task for Dr. Frog. A person may be a great academician, scholar, or professor, but he cannot speculate and expect to understand the absolute truth, for his senses are limited. The cause of all causes, the absolute truth, can be known from the absolute truth himself and not by a ascending process to reach him. When the sun is not visible at night or when it's covered by a cloud in the day, it's not possible to uncover it, either by bodily or mental strength or by scientific instruments, although the sun is there in the sky. No one can say that he has discovered a torchlight so powerful that if one goes on a roof and focuses the torchlight on the night sky, the sun will then be seen. There is no such torchlight, nor is it possible. So we cannot try to this is the problem with mental speculators. They want to understand the absolute truth or spiritual matters through their mind. But we need some purification to understand Krishna. That is why, without chanting Hare Krishna, when people start understanding, start reading Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, they're not able to understand fully something. They try to understand in a material way, and it goes over their head. So only when the absolute truth reveals himself can we understand spiritual matters. And for him to reveal himself, we have to please him. We have to we have to start serving him and have a spiritual taste. Then we'll understand spiritual matters. Um, so Krishna is not subject to, we cannot understand him through our senses or it's a direct experience. I mean, it's like anything else, we can study it. Material things, we study about it and we understand it. Yes, but spiritual matters cannot be just, you just can't say, say that I will read all Vedas, Upanishads, and then I know God. You can't. After reading all that also, if we don't surrender to Krishna and humbly, try to serve him, we'll not understand the truth. So that is why he has to reveal himself. He is the master of variety of energies, like the full material energy, and no one can understand his plans or actions. So that is another speculation. After reading, that's why there are so many different explanations of the Vedas and Upanishads also, because each one will try to interpret according to his own understanding of the mind. But nobody can know Krishna, what exactly he does. That is why very, 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 very subtle. Some things, might fox us, even in spiritual life. We may think, why is it like this? I'm not able to understand. And better not to speculate. Leave it and concentrate on your spiritual journey. And sometime Krishna will reveal. He'll definitely reveal if you're humble and we keep this thing, but not try to speculate. That's the greatest dangerous thing, to speculate about things. And we come to the wrong conclusions, and then we may do all wrong things. We may become offensive. So many things. That's why better to just leave it. If we're not understanding, then we ask to the right authorities, and then that also doesn't satisfy us, then we keep quiet and wait for Krishna to reveal when we are ready. The mental speculator may be called Dr. Frog. So that's what frog in the well, because it's really like that. The mind is covering us and making us very limited, even though we are unlimited, we are the soul. But our thinking is limited by this well like mind. And just like the frog in the well, it cannot imagine how big the Atlantic Ocean will be. Similarly, Everything we understand this world through our mind, very limited. We cannot understand how the Supreme Lord can do big, big things. How can from every pore of his comes one big universe? How is that possible? We are trying to think from material way, it is impossible. But that is transcendence. Krishna can do anything. He doesn't even have to be so huge. We may think, oh, maybe Mahavishnu is huge, and from each pore it took for him, he can be small also, he can be big, he can do anything. Because it can come like that is what, when Narad Muni met that cobbler and the Brahmana, and when he came back from Vaikunta, they asked, what was Narayana doing? And Narayana told Narada, you tell them that I was putting an elephant through an eye of the needle. So that I was putting an elephant through the eye of a needle. And the cobbler, because he was very humble and he was a very nice devotee, and when he said he was amazed. Oh, he said, my Lord, what he cannot do. He was very happy. He thought Lord can do anything. And the Brahmana, on the other hand, he was a mental speculator. So he said, what is this? How can you put elephant through an eye of a needle? You're just fabricating something. So he just didn't go beyond the mind. Whereas the cobbler, he as a bhakta, he could understand. And then Narada Muni said, how are you so sure? And he said, just see this whole big banyan tree. The blueprint of this whole tree is put inside a tiny seed. How is that possible? So Krishna can do anything. So that is what I mean. Sometimes I used to wonder, Mahavishnu is lying, and from each pore, ours is the smallest universe. Big universes are coming unlimitedly bigger and bigger. Then how big he must be? How huge he must be? But then he doesn't have to be like that. Also, whatever size, it's okay. Mahavishnu, he can he can come. Tiny universes can come out and then become big or whatever. He's got his own ways. So that is what we cannot speculate. And Lord can do anything. The word avyakta, unmanifested in this verse, indicates that the absolute truth cannot be manifested by any strain of so called scientific advancement of knowledge. Transcendence is not the subject matter of direct experience. Absolute truth may be known in the same way as the sun covered by a cloud or covered by night. For when the sun rises in the morning, in its own way, then everyone can see the sun, everyone can see the world, and everyone can see himself. This understanding of self realization is called Atma Tattva. Unless, however, one comes to this point of understanding Atma Tattva, one remains in the darkness in which he was born. Under the circumstances, no one can understand the plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is equipped with varieties of energies, as stated in the Vedic literature. Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Shruyate. He is equipped with the energy of eternal time. Not only does he have the material energy which we see and experience, but he has also many reserve energies that he can manifest in due course of time when necessary. The material scientist can simply study the partial understanding of the varieties of energies. He can take up one of the energies and try to understand it with limited knowledge. But still, it is not possible to understand the absolute truth in full by dint of material science. No material scientist can foretell what's going to happen in the future. The Bhakti Yoga process, however, is completely different from so called scientific advancement of knowledge. A devotee completely surrenders unto the Supreme, who reveals himself by his causeless mercy. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, the Lord says, I give him intelligence. What is that intelligence? Yenamam upayanti te. The Lord gives one the intelligence to cross over the ocean of nations and come back home, back to Godhead. In conclusion, the cause of all causes, the absolute truth, or Supreme Brahman cannot be understood by philosophical speculation, but he reveals himself to his devotee because the devotee fully surrenders unto his lotus feet. Bhagavad Gita is therefore to be accepted as a revealed scripture spoken by the absolute truth himself when he descended to this planet. If any intelligent man wants to know what God is, he should study this transcendental literature under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. Then it's very easy to understand Krishna as he is. So we are so grateful to Prabhupada, right? How much he is revealing all the tattva, the truth about Krishna, about the Supreme Personality, about creation, everything. So clear. He explains. Most people are confused, they don't know. Prabhupada, I mean, the Bhagavatam itself is the cream of all Vedic knowledge, so it has everything condensed in one place. On top of that, Prabhupada is explained, he's put a lot of knowledge, whatever, other things we need to know to understand the truth by giving wonderful examples. So it becomes very easy for us to understand what is the supreme truth, what is Krishna, what are his plans, what is his nature, what are his energies. So we are not in the dark, but everyone else, I mean, those who don't study the Shastras, I mean, of course, for modern man, we need lot of rational explanations also. Prabhupada, in every purport, he explains why we need to do things. And that is what is so wonderful that we develop faith. I, you know, in my child, the elder in Hinduism, for example, people don't know the reasons for why we do what. Don't ask, simply follow. But the thing is, it's okay. Yeah, maybe it makes us more surrendered and humble. Just follow authority. But suppose they make a mistake, we'll continue making those mistakes. So why should it be like that? And we're not meant to be in ignorance. Everything, the soul is always full of knowledge, Satchit Ananda. And it's our right to know, to have knowledge. And Krishna himself explains so clearly all about himself. He doesn't say, you better believe me, you don't follow me, you go to hell. He doesn't say that. Everything he explains, and we can ask him, why Krishna? Why is it like this? You told like that over there. Now, why you're telling like this? You can question. Just see how open Krishna is, because that's how spiritual life is. There is no hush hush, something uh, that something is kept covered and you're not supposed to know it. Everything is revealed. So wonderful is spiritual life, isn't it? In material life, something is hushed up, something is not revealed, something is told in a different way, and actually the truth is something else. All these things happen, and you are not supposed to question. If you question, one bombshell will fall on your head and they'll chop you off. All these things, that's not spiritual. The real spiritual truth you can question, but in a humble state. Tadvidhi paranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva. You can ask questions. You don't have to accept anything blindly. You can ask any question. But only how you ask is the question. Please, I'm really foolish. I want to know this. Please, can you explain? If you ask anything, Arjuna showed the way. He himself asked Krishna, how you're saying, Krishna, that you spoke to Vivashwan? Vivashwan is senior to you. Now, how you explain to him? So, I mean, that sort of doubt will come in our mind, and we may be scared to open our mouth. If I ask, then maybe I'm an offender, and so on. But he asked in a very nice way, Krishna, can you please explain? How is it that you explain to him like that? And Krishna explained so open, because we have nothing to hide. Krishna has nothing to hide in our Sanatan Dharma, in our Vedas, Upanishads, absolutely nothing to hide. Everything is clear as daylight. It's equal for everyone. And anyone can understand the truth. Everyone is equally entitled to know everything. So that is what, and Krishna himself is saying, I give you the intelligence. You do bhakti, and then I'll reveal everything. So that is even easier. You just surrender. Prabhupada, in one of the short clips I saw Prabhupada's quotation, he was saying, you just need to have devotion, just do service. That is all. It's not that you have to become a big scholar and all that. Then God, you'll realize God, or you'll know God. Imagine. And we miss that. But Prabhupada said Krishna consciousness is so simple that you miss it, because we think such a big realization, such about the absolute truth and all that. It must be very, very complicated. Imagine, how can we know about the Supreme Lord and all his leelas and all knowledge about him? He himself is so complicated. How can we know by simple things? We have to know by complicated, very difficult things. We should be able to do a lot of tapasya, then only we'll know all this. That is our mind. But Prabhupada says, no. I mean, that's what Krishna says, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja. That's all. Simply, we have to take shelter of Krishna in a humble state of mind and follow all his instructions. Then the entire truth is revealed. That is the biggest miracle. How can you? That's where they sometimes, devotees, because the jnanis and yogis, they cannot understand bhaktas. They think, these are all simply emotional people. They are all simpletons. They don't know anything. That is how Durvasa Muni thought of Ambarish Maharaj. No, no, first of all, he's a worldly man. He's an emperor. On top of that, he is just one sentimental bhakta. Whereas I'm a great yogi with so much powers and all. And how dare he drink water before I come? That was his attitude. And then he thought Ambarish Maharaj is nothing in front of him. And then he had a lesson of his life. He was chased by Sudarshan Chakra and finally came and fell at his feet. Oh my God, I didn't know how exalted you were. So that is how great bhakti is. All we need to do is bhakti. And if someone is not able to do, we have different methods. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given, do this or do that, or because somehow we have to reach to their heart and induce them. Suppose they're not ready to do anything, then also no problem. We'll chant for you. We'll go around the tulasi for you 4 times. We'll somehow pass on something, the effects of bhakti to you. So that is how powerful bhakti yoga is. न न चैते पुत्रक भ्रातुर हंतारो धनधानुघा विसर्गाधानयो स्तात पुंसो दैवम hi karanam. My dear son, those yakshas who are descendants of Kuvera are not actually the killers of your brother. The birth and death of every living entity are caused by the Supreme, who is certainly the cause of all causes. This is what people need to hear, then they become satisfied. When they've lost someone and they felt, oh, maybe I should have done this, maybe I should have done that, so save them. Why didn't I take the dog? Maybe I am to be blamed or something, or they feel something else, or they try to blame somebody else. The doctor, no, he only didn't treat properly, and it something. But actually the fact of the matter is, Krishna decides. Once we know that, we'll not bother. We'll be satisfied. Yes, so that is what he is trying to tell Dhruv Maharaj. Why are you getting so upset with the yakshas? They are not the cause. Krishna is the cause. Birth and death of every living entity are caused by the Supreme, who is certainly the cause of all causes. स एव विश्वं सृजति स एवावति हन्ति च अतापि हि अनहङ्कारान् नाज्यते कर्मभिः. The Supreme Personality of Godhead creates this material world maintains it, and annihilates it in due course of time. But because he is transcendental to such activities, he is never affected by ego in such action or by the modes of material nature. In this verse, the word anahankara means without ego. The conditioned soul has a false ego, and as a result of his karma, he gets different types of bodies in this material world. Sometimes he gets the body of a demigod, and he thinks that body to be his identity. Similarly, when he gets the body of a dog, he identifies himself with that body. But for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no such distinction between the body and the soul. Bhagavad Gita therefore certifies that anyone who thinks of Krishna as an ordinary human being is without knowledge of his transcendental nature and is a great fool. Mani limpanti. He is not affected by anything he does because he is never contaminated by material modes of nature. That material modes and all are set up by Krishna for us. Then we become proud and we get attached that I did it, and we become. Krishna is above modes, so it doesn't affect him. That we have a material body proves that we're infected by the three material modes of nature. The Lord says to Arjuna, you and I had many, many births previously, but I remember everything, whereas you do not. That's the difference between the living entity or conditioned soul and the supreme soul. The supreme soul, the supreme personality of Godhead, has no material body, and because he has no material body, he is not affected by any work he executes. There are many Mayavadi philosophers who consider that Krishna's body is the effect of a concentration of the material mode of goodness, and they distinguish Krishna's soul from Krishna's body. The real situation, however, is that the body of the conditioned soul, even if he has a large accumulation of material goodness, is material, whereas Krishna's body is never material. It is transcendental. Krishna has no false ego, for he does not identify himself with a false and temporary body. His body is always eternal. He descends to this world in his own original spiritual body. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita as Param Bhavam. The words Param Bhavam and Divyam are especially significant in understanding Krishna's personality. So that's why most people speculate about God and they don't understand him, because they don't understand that he is not subject to the laws of this material world. And Anahankaram, he creates this material world, maintains it, and annihilates it in due course of time. But because he's transcendental to such activities, he's never affected by ego in such action or by the modes of material nature. That's why he's created everything and he's very detached. He doesn't enjoy this. This whole creation, gigantic, 1/4 of his creation, is all being created for our sake. He doesn't get any happiness from it. He's just lying there waiting patiently for us to finish our karmas and turn to him. And then just imagine how detached he is. Can we create in the material world? If we do something, we think I should also enjoy it. Or we at least become proud. See, I only did this. But he has no ahankar also. So many people don't, in the material world, no one even knows that Vishnu is the cause of all this. They say when Big Bang came and happened, how he will feel. Hey, I sat and did everything for you, and you don't, you're thinking when Big Bang came and did, or they created all this wonderful universe. He's not bothered. He is, so that is spiritual body, full of knowledge, intelligence, full of love, happiness. And so a devotee, because by worshipping him, we also, our soul wakes up and we understand a little bit of what is transcendental. First of all, what is transcendental? That only they don't know. They will think, oh, maybe it's the fourth dimension. The scientists and all that, they never knew. I mean, transcendental and all, they thought it was bogus. Simply, you're just creating something. They don't believe in mysticism, transcendence, and all. But now, the fourth dimension is, I mean, when they think that in space, okay, there are other things happening. So slowly their minds is opening up, and finally they'll be able to understand what is transcendental, or they think God is there. There are many things they cannot explain. Then slowly they will come to the, they also have to admit that we don't understand anything. And that is why, that is, we are infected by the three modes of nature. Lord says to Arjuna, you and I have had many births previously, but I remember everything, whereas you do not. So that's a major, that's a evidence. There's a difference between Krishna and us. I don't remember anything. What even, yeah, last week, same time, what I did also, I don't remember. And also last life and all that, forget about it. I'm not even aware. But Krishna remembers everything, everything, every moment, past, present, future, is there in the tips of his, I mean, mind. He knows everything. So he's got a transcendental body. And we can see how even the living entity, like earlier times, people were more spiritual. And because of that, they had astounding memory power. And so, whatever they heard, even once, that stayed in their brain permanently throughout their lives. They remembered everything. That's why they never recorded anything. Because you just go to a school, you listen, and you remember. You don't need books. How wonderful. So then we can understand what is the nature of soul. Because when they were not fully self realized, still with a lot of spiritual advancement, they had fantastic memory power. And they remembered the entire Vedas and Upanishads completely stored in their brains, and just by listening once. Just imagine. So the soul is full of knowledge and like that. And in Kali Yuga, because we've become so materialistic, that is why we have short memory power, short concentrations. Everything has to be recorded, and we have to keep referring it. So then we know that if living entities themselves can get so much by becoming more spiritual, then the Supreme Lord, how great and perfect he must be. And he definitely has no false ego about doing anything. That is the transcendental nature, because it's all by his energies. And because Krishna is doing like that and is perfect, when he says for a new person, you might think, what is this in Bhagavad Gita? God is all the time saying, I'm the greatest. I did this, I did that, and you surrender to me. The someone who is not used to this thing, they may think, oh, God must be very egoistic, no? He's all the time saying, surrender to me. I am the greatest. Everyone celebrates me. I did this. All are my energies. This is so he is what all the time is glorifying himself. He is not glorifying himself. That is the truth. That is the truth, and he is so kindly explaining it to us. He doesn't need to bother about us. We have a tiny portion of him. Tiny, 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 so tiny. We don't make any difference if we are not there also. But we do make a difference because he loves all his parts and parcels out of his love and compassion. Even though we are so tiny, he every tiny part means so much to Krishna. He keeps in the Bhagavatam, we see how he tells Prahlad Maharaj, you're more dear to me than even Lakshmi Devi, and then even Balarama, then even who else? So this is how much he adores his devotee, tiny jivas who render devotional service to him. Then he glorifies them and he says, you're more dear, you're dearer to me than myself also. So that love is what keeps him, you know, makes us important. He gives all importance to us because he gives importance to us, because we are part and parcel of him, and our love matters to him. So, how much we should be interested in knowing this truth. This is the absolute truth. Without the absolute truth, life is boring. Life is really boring. But with Krishna, even the most dullest things becomes very exciting. Any topic, you add Krishna to it, then it becomes a different thing altogether. And so, similarly, any work also boring, mundane work, same mechanical, routine work. But if you combine it with Krishna, you do it for Krishna, or you're listening to Krishna katha or holy names and doing it, it suddenly becomes so transcendental. So that is how we have to come out of this material thinking. Now, Dhruva Maharaj also, when he was thinking materially, he was doing all nonsense, simply trying to destroy all the yakshas. The minute he came and, Swayambhu Manu told about Krishna, immediately his intelligence started working, and then he thought, yeah, I will not fight. What is the use? So that is the potency of Krishna consciousness. We need Krishna every moment of our life, in every field of activity, at all times we need. Otherwise, our mind sinks, it becomes mundane and material. And it's not exciting to think mundane in a material way. Um, so, okay, Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
Mataji, this I'm just talking in the context of uh, today's class, the Avanti